Hi everyone, let's give a warm welcome to our next speaker, Boris Kuznetsov, who will talk about CloudStack monitoring with Prometheus and Grafana. Boris is a DevOps guy and a cloud engineer working for several startups. So hi Boris, tell us a little bit more about yourself and give us this awesome talk for the monitoring.
Hello everyone. Even thanks for introduction. I'm Boris and I'm a DevOps engineer and a cloud architect. And I work with clusters, clouds every day, like most of you. And one of the tasks we engineers face every day is monitoring. And when I started to use CloudStack about half of a year ago, monitoring was one of things that I was struggling with. And after I started to dig into that, and when I started to build and bring up my own system, I got some insights and more information that I'm going to be sharing today with you. Yvette, may I ask you a question?
Yep, of course.
Yes, and if I ask audience to raise hands, who used monitoring, CloudStack monitoring? So can everyone please raise the hand in Zoom if you have already used monitoring in CloudStack?
You can use maybe the emojis which are in the chat.
Chat. So yes.
No,
so
yeah, they can.
Yes, users may write messages or just put plus into the chat. And I would just would like just to know the statistics of how many people have already done that. So please, everyone, before we start, put plus or something like that in the group chat just to let me know who has already used monitoring of CloudStack itself. Okay, so let's get started. Well, let me show you what this thing is all about. So this is the picture I derived several days ago on the previous version of CloudStack, which is 4.15.2. And I put, so here we see 4 dashboards, which monitor the number of the CPU frequency rate here, the memory which is used by different virtual machines, which are stated here. We also monitor the public IP usage, which is important because we normally buy public IPs from high-level providers, and they are usually short of IPv4 addresses are a scarce resource right now. And the bottom right corner is the total number of cores allocated and used. So on the right button, we have about 22 or 24 cores on the current cluster, and we have like 6 or 8 and 4 allocated by different machines. So that's how it looks like, and I'll show you how to derive this right now. Okay, if you go to CloudStack documentation on that page, you'll find it's surprisingly difficult to find anything about Prometheus and monitoring. And the only thing I found was actually this kind of changelog in the recent version. So that's actually the latest released version of 4.15.2. And if you look for Prometheus here, you will see 3 merged pull requests, which mention some works here, but don't really provide much information. And I feel like a technical debt for myself to put more information into the CloudStack documentation about how this should be done. Okay, so when you start to dig into CloudStack monitoring, first the first thing you face is that there is no documentation, no example, nothing at all. So, but we don't get scary, and we go straight and check out the project and go and check the code. So I understand that most users do not use Java in every day right now, as DevOps engineers tend to use different tools. But nevertheless, some of you may have a programming background, and if you check out the project and open the plugins and integrations session here, you will see some Prometheus, some integrations with Prometheus, and you will find a nice Java code. And actually, here, if you dig into this Java code, you will find that there is some kind of Prometheus exporter, which is one we need to get metrics, but Prometheus. So it has some implementation, and we have also some insight into server configuration. So actually, we have we see that the code exports exports metrics into port 9595, and there is a list of hosts with allowed IPs where CloudStack enables to flush that metrics. So yes, there is no documentation, but we see that there is a code, and there is a hope that we can really get it done. Well, let's consider the system that we are using. So we are using small medium business private cloud, which for this demo consists of two nodes, actually two hypervisors. So the first hypervisor, which is node here, hosts database, management servers, storage, NFS, and so on. And it has two physical links, one of which connects to the top of rack router. So data center router here. Maybe I should make it bigger. Yvette, do you see this well?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, so yes, and the management node and the management hypervisor connects directly to the data center router, and this is the public network, public physical network, and it also hosts a high-speed switch. So here we use a 40 gigabit high-speed low latency switch, and connects two nodes here into a high-speed 40 gigabit network. And we have only one KVM hypervisor with some local storage. And yes, we use both local storage on both hypervisors. We don't have a dedicated storage here. Well, and yes, and when you think about getting metrics, so Prometheus, what is Prometheus? Prometheus is kind of a big sink of everything. So when people design cloud native applications, and Prometheus is, by the way, a graduate project from Cloud Native Computer Foundation, so CNCF, and it is a graduate project, which means it passed all tests and adoption from CNCF community. And that means that Prometheus is built for cloud native applications and Kubernetes in particular. So it's not a secret that it's implemented in Golang, and it's a very lightweight binary, 32 megabytes, the last version. And it's implemented as a modular system. So the job of Prometheus is just to gather or be a sink for everything, for every metrics. So we can have multiple services, microservices spread on the Kubernetes cluster, which export metrics through metrics exporters. So metrics exporters are language-specific API backends provided by Prometheus community itself. They support Golang, C++, Java, Scala, I don't know, Python, many Rust, many languages, about 10, 15. And they use just to scrap matrix from microservices and make it available in a specific Prometheus format on a specific port. So in CloudStack, if we get back to this picture, we see that the importer is hard-coded and implemented on the port 9595, and that's just an exporter. So that's not a full Prometheus, that's just a Java API backend which export or brings or flushes all metrics to this port. And in my system, we have a management server which scraps metrics from the whole ACS cluster, including the management server itself and multiple hypervisor nodes. So here we use KVM hypervisor, and all metrics, all information about the number of cores used, the number of public IPs which we need to know, hard disk size used and estimated, and so on. They all are gathered by CloudStack agent and aggregated from all nodes, and it is exported through via this Prometheus exporter through the port number 9595. Okay, and we have another node here, which is independent node, and it's normally called the monitoring node, which is not a part of the cluster itself, and it has two applications running. So it's Prometheus on the port 90 and Grafana on the port 3000. So that's normally how it works. And the system is very simple from the user point of view. So ACS management servers combines and grabs all metrics from the whole ACS cluster, puts it available through Prometheus protocol on the 9595 port, and then external monitoring node, which uses Prometheus backend and Grafana backend, they pull. So they normally pull that matrix from this server on port 9595 and display on this Grafana. Okay, let's see how this is done. I want to start and see on my management server and see whether we have this matrix available. And by the way, I'm going to be showing some code and tricks and the tips right now, and this will be kind of a hands-on experience for new engineers and CloudStack users. So the first thing we want to see, we want to go to the management server. Eva, do you hear the laptop screen well?
Yeah, we can see the console, it's right.
Okay, so now I'm on the management server, which runs CloudStack management servers. And the first thing I want to know whether here is Prometheus server running. So yes, I see some activity on port 9090, and I don't see any activity on port 9595. And if you try to curl this port 9090, oops. Well, you will see that CloudStack opens this port, but it doesn't implement Prometheus functionality, and it says not implemented. So what it says is means that this functionality is not implemented in CloudStack itself, and it needs a standalone Prometheus server to work. Okay, but what about port 9595? We saw that it was hard-coded as the matrix exporter, and if you try to check on it, you don't see that there is any activity on port 9595. And that's the biggest boomer here in the CloudStack setup, because by default, CloudStack doesn't export metrics through this port. So this feature, although implemented from version about 4.12, if I'm not mistaken, let's see when it was implemented. So let me open a link here. And I have several links to share. And if you see this page, which I'll share, you'll see that Rohit Yadav implemented this exporter back into October 2017. So there is a CloudStack wiki, and it's dated October 2017. And as you can read and as you can see here, there are a number of metrics that are scrapped from CloudStack CloudStack hosts, and it's exported through this interface. But no, yes, and it says about port 9595. Well, and the problem is that, as usually, this is not a documented. This thing is not documented, and you need just to know the trick how to get it done. And yes, you guessed, you should do this from your MySQL command line, and this is how it works. Let me make it bigger. So I start MySQL. And I put these two commands that I have on this slide. Well, yes, and it says that our Prometheus exporter is disabled, false. And if I put the second command, which we also need to see the ports which are used to which are IPs which are allowed to connect to this metric exporter, you'll see some values. Yes, and you guessed that I have already entered them, but by the default value is just the local host 107.0.0.1. So guys, to make Prometheus work, you need to update SQL table and put this configuration. So I'm turning on Prometheus exporter with this SQL command. And again, it's not documented, and you just need to dig into this. All right, so I updated, and let's see if we have it now enabled. Now, if I check if this Prometheus enabled, I see the value true. That means that I enable it by hands. Of course, I'm using the latest. Currently, I'm using the latest version of CloudStack, and there is no GUI knob to use it. Okay, and now we need to restart the CloudStack management service. Is it clear up to now? So metric exporter is disabled by default, and to enable it, you need to log into MySQL database as a root and update CloudStack configuration with this command. Okay. So these are two SQL commands that I use to enable Prometheus metrics and allow add a list of IP addresses that are allowed to scrap the matrix. And as you see, I added here some internal address from the internal high-speed network and some VPN-based address. And let's see if we make it work. Now I'm again, I'm waiting for CloudStack to restart. So I'll assume it will be restarted when the CPU usage drops a bit. So yeah, it looks like have already been restarted. And now we again run this command and look for the port 9595, and it's here. So we hand tuned this CloudStack feature, and we enabled matrix exporter by hands. And the next thing you want to check whether CloudStack really exports anything to this port. And you do this by the curl command. So you do curl -vv localhost 9595. And by the way, you can you can run this command only from addresses that were enabled on the list. And if you use this, so yes, it gives us 200 OK. And if you open the matrix, you will recognize in command line some matrix that's already been exported. So at this point, we did two things. We turned it on Prometheus matrix exporter by hand, and we curl it without any tools to make sure that this functionality works and Prometheus really exports graphics to our console. So I see it works. And as I showed, I have a separate monitoring node, which is here. So currently I have been working on this metric exporter, and this is the management node on the hypervisor. And this node is a monitoring, and it's a separate node. And I added its internal IP address, which was 192.168 and so on. So what I want to grab to run Prometheus from this monitoring node and grab the graphics and display it on the monitoring node. So you start from the end. You just open open Grafana there. So I did some preparations, and actually you need to do only two things on a fresh virtual machine. You start the Prometheus service. It may be either a Kubernetes service, it may be either standalone, just download the binary, or it may run in a Docker container. So normally 3 ways to run both Prometheus and Grafana. And when you start Grafana, you need to add data sources. So you need to say Grafana where it fetches the data. And the assumption is that you have a working Prometheus node which can really scraps the metrics. So as far as we are running on another host, I SSH to my monitoring node here, and I again check the availability of metrics on my management server. So here I'm curling my management server and just get into the port 9595 to see if I can access metrics from this host. And it says okay. And by the way, if I try to do this from my laptop address, which I didn't add, MGT 95. You see here 403 forbidden. So as you see, CloudStack allows matrix exporter only into the particular list of addresses which we specified with this command. Yes, so let me show this, and let me focus on this again. So yes, this enable command, this command in MySQL enables the list of the servers which can scrap the matrix. Okay, so back to our matrix. On the monitor side, I see the Prometheus data from the exported server, and that means that I can really start the Prometheus server and start getting the matrix. So I assume that you have some knowledge and experience with Prometheus. If not, you just go to their website and see Hello World example, which is very simple service here, and it just shows how to manually scrape a matrix from a single site. And yes, so I run this Prometheus here. So I just have a demo script. Oops. Yeah, I'll give it another address. I'll give it 92.92. Oops, something doesn't work here. Management works. Okay, so yes, I already have an instance here running on the second window. So yes, I have a Prometheus running here. And now let's see what we have on the CloudStack itself. So I go to the CloudStack GUI and log in as an administrator. And if you see instances, I have only one instance running currently. So let's add more instances here. Let me add more instances. I use Terraform code to initialize and to kickstart 2 more instances. And I kickstart that. So now I expect 2 new instances, which will consume more resources, and 2 IP addresses, 201 instances. Okay, 1 instance, because second is already running here. So I started 2 instances, and I have now 2 more IP addresses, and I want to monitor the situation. I want to see that these, I can really see these instances consume some resources in Prometheus, and see how much memory they use, which IP addresses they use, and their CPU utilization. So I go to my monitoring server, which is 3000 here. And I add the data source. So again, Grafana is just a top level visualization tool. It doesn't collect or compute or aggregate any data. So Prometheus is the sync and data aggregator, which allows to run custom queries like SQL queries on a very big amounts of different data. And it allows complex joins to make some kind of analytics from the, to make online streaming analytics from the data that come in. And Grafana just uses it as a backend. So if you want to add Prometheus, you first need to remember on which port you run it. So you go to the management server and sorry, not management, monitoring server, and see the port. Yes, so here we use default Prometheus 9090 port, and 3000, by the way, it's a Grafana port. So you just open ports and see how who's running. So Prometheus is 9090 here. And yes, and as far as we have both Grafana and Prometheus on the local host, as a source, you specify, you go to the configuration data sources and add data source, Prometheus data source. And you specify localhost 9090, which is the Prometheus itself. And you keep everything default and just push the button save and test. And here you see that Grafana gives you a feedback that it has an okay integration with Prometheus and it works. And you just and then you go to the Explore button and see the metrics. And so now we are reaching the point when the latest nightly build, which I installed, which is 416, which I installed just yesterday. So for some reason, I wasn't able to see the metrics exported here. Again, I see the metrics from the command line with the curl 95 metrics. So I definitely see an exported metrics here, and I run Prometheus. But when I run Grafana and Prometheus here online, for some reason I do not see that I can really access this metrics. So perhaps this is some bug with the latest versions of Grafana and Prometheus and CloudStack, which I didn't dig deep into that, but believe me, it works. So I made this screenshot, which I showed you in the very beginning. I made it with the previous version, which was 4.15, and it exports metrics, and I started to implement different dashboards. So right now, I'm unfortunately not able to show you this, but what I will do, I will commit a public repository, and I will commit Grafana dashboards, and I will commit the code which allows to run this integration, and it will allow users to see this nice Grafana dashboards and monitor your Prometheus and CloudStack setup. So I think this is all. That's all I wanted to say for today. Yvette?
Thank you, Boris. Are you ready with the demo? Shall we go to the questions?
Yes. I think we can go with questions.
Okay, so we still have time. So everybody who has questions, just drop them into the Q&A window. I start with the first one from Fernando Alvarez. Is the deployment of this platform for a private cloud only, or can it be used in a public cloud with multiple tenants?
Yes, so that's a good question. And actually, there is no limit to to the number of monitoring nodes and clouds allowed. So on this picture, monitoring server just runs Prometheus, and it can use multiple scraping ports, multiple ports to scrap metrics. And we have this into this YAML. So if you need to add more scrap points, you just add another job name here. So for example, ACS management 0, ACS management 2. And if you have several different clusters, public or private clouds, each of which exports Prometheus metrics, you just can aggregate all of that with a single monitoring server and just have different dashboards in Grafana to visualize that. So there is no actual limit, and both technologies, so Prometheus, Grafana, and CloudStack are very self-sufficient, and they can scale at any number.
Okay, and how are you monitoring the hypervisor and VMs? Are you using the libvirt exporter?
Yes, so good question. Actually, it's a bit different. So of course, we need to monitor hypervisors separately. Why? Because they are not part of the CloudStack installation. And normally, when you want to monitor hypervisor or any hardware node, you just insert and install so-called node exporter. And if you Google and see what is node exporter, I think this is from Grafana. Okay, let me just Google that for you. Node exporter, Prometheus. Well, yes, and if you Google it, you just see that the Prometheus provides this matrix node exporter, and what you do, you just install this node exporter on all your hypervisors, and they also open 9090 port, and you use the same or another monitoring service with Prometheus to monitor separately. So actually, CloudStack is monitored separately, and it sends its own information. So CloudStack sends the information which was mentioned here in this PR by Rohit. So I'll give you the link, and this is what Prometheus exports through this port. And if you monitor hypervisors, you wanna normally need storage space, CPU, memory usage, and so on. So you can monitor both, but those will be different metrics.
Thank you, Boris. A few more questions here in terms of the recordings of the session. Yeah, the session is recorded, and you have the on-demand link to the recording a few minutes after we finish it. In addition to it, all of the sessions after the conference end will be uploaded in the official Apache CloudStack YouTube channel. So be sure that you are subscribed to the CloudStack channel so that you can be notified when the sessions are live. And as we don't have any other questions, I suggest we move to the break. And Boris,
yes,
you can spend...
let me have a final wrap-up word, please.
Okay.
So actually, as I told, I started to work with the CloudStack about half of a year ago, and it was a very complex technology. And here I have a special thanks to a few community members who helped me and who were hand in hands. So Rodrigo Lopez I'm grateful to him for providing tech experience, consulting, and coaching. Gabriel Bimes Bracher, yes?
Yeah.
Am I right? So Gabriel, Gabriel also helped me a lot and shared his knowledge and initial hypervisor setup. Also, I'm grateful to Andrea Panik for sharing his educational videos very early. And Andrea has a great talk on this conference, and I encourage users to go and to see his talk in live and in record. And I also grateful to Slavka Paleva and Wei Zhou for helping me with GitHub issues. So with all those people, I was able to get up and running with clouds in a very, very short period of time, and I really appreciate those people.
Thank you very much, Boris, and we're also very happy to welcome new members to our community. We hope you will continue your contribution to the project. As you mentioned, there are definitely some things which needs improvement, and you can also help a lot on the documentation for the monitoring side. So thank you for being part of the community.
Okay, thank you, Yvette, and thanks everyone. Yes, so see you in community. Bye-bye.
Bye all.